Hello and welcome to Nothing to Wear, the podcast that solves fashion problems and levels up your wardrobe. Each week we talk all things fashion, whether it be speaking with an expert, deep diving the latest seasonal trends, or analysing the major city fashion shows, which is exactly what we're doing today.
You have to do it. You live for fashion.
My name's Lucinda Pikkat and I am joined with our very own from Mamamia, Chelsea Hoy. Chelsea is one of our entertainment writers here and she is not only very stylish, she is an absolute lover of all things fashion. So Chelsea, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be on the pod today, especially because it's officially Fashion Month.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen New York and London so far.
Yep.
And at the point that we're recording this, we would have been midway through Milan. So today we've both brought a few trends that we've seen off and on the runway.
Yep.
And we're going to help you get the Fashion Week looks without the Fashion Week prices.
That's right. And it is a mammoth month. September historically is just a very big month in fashion, really because it sort of sets the mark and tone for fall winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So that's a big time for wholesalers, designers, just commercially it's a big time. But they've also got the September US Vogue issue, which is the biggest issue for Vogue, not just size-wise, like it's huge, not quite Bible, but like textbook. And its production value as well is really big. So whoever they get on the front cover and usually like what they're talking about in the issues, really interesting from like a cultural lens.
Mm-hmm.
So fun fact, I actually collect the Vogue September issues and I've been doing it. I think my earliest edition's 2006.
Wow. I
So
love that.
what's that? 20 years?
Yeah.
And
20
back
years.
then it was like Kate Moss. That was like supermodel era on the front cover. And they just mark these like cultural moments in history. So 2020 was just a blank front cover. So it was completely white, no text, just Vogue and white for COVID, obviously. So it's really interesting. So this year for September US Vogue, they had Emma Stone. And I'm excited I'm speaking to you, Chelsea, as an entertainment editor. What's Emma Stone be doing? Why is she relevant to be on the front cover of Vogue?
I mean, what's Emma Stone not doing?
Yeah,
I feel like she's had banger after banger.
yeah.
Literally the last few years, there's not been a movie she's been in that hasn't been sort of one of the ones that's got a lot of award buzz. Obviously, she won her second Oscar very recently. She's really kind of at a career peak right now. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Nice. Well, and I think we'll just quickly, before we get into Fashion Week and the runway shows, I don't think we can be a fashion podcast without mentioning Anna Wintour stepping down from Vogue. She's been in the helm of Vogue for 37 years. That's like my age. Like, isn't that wild?
Crazy. Yeah.
But she stepped down. She's passed the reins on to Chloe Mal, who was at all of the fashion shows. And I think she'll be a great addition to the magazine. So for those who are unfamiliar with Chloe Mal, she's 39, 2 kids. She has been with Vogue since 2011. So she's got deep experience within Vogue. She's headed up the digital side of Vogue for sort of the past chunk of her career. And she's demonstrated huge growth within that space. And I think that just is testament to her knowing her audience, what people are interested in, what they're clicking on. And I think she'll be great in terms of straddling the tradition and heritage of Vogue, but then also bringing like some freshness and innovation. And just even with Fashion Week, I follow her on Instagram and I'd suggest anyone who doesn't follow her do so because she's giving a behind the scenes of Fashion Week, which I guess Anna Wintour never did. So on her stories, that sort of backstage, and she was at Ralph Lauren sitting opposite Oprah Winfrey and Gayle. It was just nice insight.
Yeah.
She's also the host of the Run Through podcast, which is Vogue's podcast. She's a co-host there. So it sort of humanizes her. I feel like she's in your ears once a week, so you know who she is. So I think she'll be a great addition to the magazine. But we are here to talk about trends and Fashion Week. So like you said, we've got the big four. So we start with New York, London, Milan, Paris. Chelsea, do you have a favorite Fashion Week? Is there one that you get really, really excited to see?
I mean, I do love them all, but I have to say New York is my favorite, kind of by a mile. I think as a city, I love New York so much, and I really feel like that vibrant energy of the city really translates to the street style.
That's so true. And I think because it's the first show, it's almost like the cerulean sweater of the fashion shows. It's the first, it sets the tone, it sets the scene, it sets the trends for what we're about to see. We talk about trends a lot on this podcast, and it's worth noting that the ones we've mentioned before previously in recent episodes were definitely prevalent at Fashion Week. So, for example, the polka dots, the headscarves, bandanas, the balloon skirts. However, we didn't want to just rehash the trends that we've given you guys. It is nice that it sort of verifies and solidifies the trends that we've given you, but we just wanted to come with fresh ones. So we've got 8 to share with you today. Chels, do you want to kick off with your first trend that you saw at Fashion Week?
Yeah, so I did see a lot of brands really playing with different textures on the runway. So I'm talking fringe, pom-poms. There were a lot of pom-poms at the Calvin Klein show.
Totally.
Yeah. And embellishments.
Yep.
And I think this is a really fun one because sometimes I think it can feel quite overwhelming trying to figure out how to integrate some of these things into your wardrobe. But I think the key is really to focus on maybe one item that feels really different or unique in texture. So maybe it's an embellished kind of sheer skirt, or maybe it's a jacket with fringe on it, and then kind of build around that. And you can kind of use more understated, neutral items from your closet and really build a more balanced look that way.
That's so true. I love that. And even like physical pom-poms at the area show. Nicholas Orbaum had pom-poms, the actual models carrying pom-poms. He actually said anyone wearing area is having fun. And I think that's exactly what pom-poms is. It's just all about being fun, occasion wear, dressing as well. The thing I love about what you're talking with those tactile textures as well, you can stick to silhouettes that you love and feel comfortable in. It's just changing that texture or adding the fringing.
Yeah, that's so I think it's a very actually in a way subtle and easy way to really change up your outfit without kind of changing, the silhouette that you're kind of most comfortable in.
Yeah. So true. Well, my first trend, I thought I'd just talk about colour, because colours, there's like over 450 shows in total across the big four. So you're obviously going to see a lot of colour. So whatever colour you like wearing, just say it's purple, you're going to see that at Anna Sui, or orange was at Missoni. So always know that your favourite colour is always going to be around and in season. But talking about trends and what's trending, it's really interesting looking at fashion shows. What we usually say in trend forecasting, it takes 3 to become a trend. So back in the day, I worked at this trend forecasting agency in London, and this was before social media, before Vogue Runway. We would sit and literally write down with pen and paper when we're seeing the colours. So in terms of colours this year, we saw the first colour was black and white. Not that that's a colour, but it was surprisingly very prevalent. Yeah. And it was a lot of the first looks for brands as well, which is usually a big statement for the tone of their collection. Yeah. But it was just interesting that this black and white took such centre stage. And I think that's from two sides. I think designers and fashion houses are feeling the commercial pressure to create ready-to-wear or easy-to-digest collections. So I think these commercial handcuffs, back in the day we used to see quite extravagant couture, avant-garde fashion weeks. It's dulled down a little bit this year, I found. Did you find that? It was a lot of ready-to-wear?
100%. I think especially on the black and white topic, I felt like this felt like something that was so easily integratable into my own wardrobe, and things on the runway felt a little bit more wearable. And I think it's interesting, like black and white is something we all own in all of our wardrobes. And I feel like the fact that so many prominent fashion houses featured those colors in the same outfit was interesting to me. Yeah.
And you could almost look at an outfit and go, I would wear that entire thing. Where back in the day you go, whoa, that's crazy.
Agreed.
And for anyone listening or watching at home, I don't know if you've seen like reels of crazy fashion weeks and someone's walking down the runway in like tinsel or something. They were never really intended to be worn. It was more sort of a guiding light for the collection of what that designer's trying to share. So, or trying to demonstrate with his then ready to wear that you could buy in store. But a lot of designers can't do that now. I think it was Jonathan Simkai who showed in New York. He was saying, I would love to show a couture one of a kind piece go down the runway, but I can't afford to spend $70,000 on that one piece. It needs to be ready to wear. It needs to be commercialized. So I think that was the reason why we're seeing a lot of the black and white. In terms of other colors, the prominent ones that I've seen so far are pink, blue, and red. Red, I feel, is a hangover from last year. It's always sort of a classic evergreen color in fashion. And then the color that I was really interested in seeing is this blue. I'm almost going to call it a transformative teal. And it was exciting to see this color because in trend forecasting, we've been speaking about transformative teal or blue aura being the color for 2026. And what I mean by that is WGSN, who's a trend forecasting company, and Coloro have come out saying this will be the color for next year. So to now see that translate into fashion just verified that, and it was exciting to see this is actually coming to life. So Burberry really had this nice transformative teal, which was lovely. Gucci as well. And I think we're just going to see more of it as well in Milan and Paris. So I guess the takeaway of this is it's nice that we've still got our black and white staple wardrobe, but then pick your color that you like. I think sometimes it's overwhelming in summer when there's so many colors, what suits you, what doesn't. What I like to do is just pick a color. So last year I chose like avocado green. So I have my black and white staple wardrobe. And if I was ever going to buy color, it would be that avocado color.
Yeah. I also think it's just easier to not have to revamp your entire wardrobe. It's like select pieces that within like a certain color palette that you can kind of focus on that year, which I love. Yeah. The second trend that I saw is layering. And I know we kind of see a little bit of that every year, but there were a few shows that really stood out to me where they were just piling on layers and layers of different things that I found really interesting. So one of the brands that really stood out to me was Lee, a New York-based designer, and they were kind of putting more structural types of clothing, structured tanks on top of more structured and boxy t-shirts under long sleeve shirts. So just layers and layers and layers, and really playing with color blocking, different patterns. And I found that really interesting and very appropriate for street style and something that you can really do very easily. Just go into your wardrobe and looking at old tank tops, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts that you have and just having fun with it. I think it's a lot of trial and error with this, playing with different patterns. Maybe it's stripes or different color palettes. One of the ones I saw on the runway, which was really beautiful, was white with like a light blue tee and then a dark brown kind of shirt, and that color palette worked really well. So I think it's one that you can really easily take off the runway that again is very wearable and doesn't feel like there's too much of a disconnect between like high fashion and something that you could do.
I feel like this is a big influence from Copenhagen. I could really feel that this year, particularly New York, and even like speaking of Calvin Klein with Veronica Leone, she worked at the Row. And even though that's not Scandi, but I could feel that sort of like undone influence in New York fashion. And yeah, that layering feeling of just like putting things together. It's a nice way to experiment with just breaking away from your basics. And like you were saying, putting things on, but even in reverse, how would you layer them? So yeah, I think it's a really nice, fun activity to almost try, and fun exercise to try at home if you want to start exploring with layering.
Yeah, and also I think a nice way to reuse some basics maybe that you hadn't really taken out of your wardrobe for a while and kind of playing around with that. I think it's a fun way to really revamp your closet.
Okay, my third is utility accessories. This was such a weird one to see. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, is this actually becoming a trend? And I messaged a few friends in the industry. Did you see this as well, Chels? It was all sort of show after show. People were showing these. I'm calling them utility accessories, practical pendants. Not quite sure of what this term is yet, but I first saw it in Michael Kors. So Michael Kors, bless him, is 66 years old now. One of the, again, like New York brands that have been around, those heritage brands. His show was inspired all around his travel. So he's recently been to Indonesia, French Polynesia, Morocco, and these beautiful looks went down the runway, effortless. Almost, he said he was taking what he saw in that resort island life and bringing it into the urban modern world of New York. So almost like loose fitting caftan dresses, belted, and just really nice, almost holiday style dressing. But he had these pendant necklaces which had a card holder on the bottom of them. Off-White have bum bags with pockets. So it's this ongoing, reoccurring trend around utility accessories.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting one. I think it goes back to, we've been talking a lot about functional style dressing, gorpcore. Gorpcore is a funny one, a bit more athleisure wear, but I think we're now seeing that practical style enter high fashion. And just, did you know gorpcore, fun fact, actually stands for, so you know we talk about gorpcore with your Solomons and your Asics shoes and you walking around the city. It stands for good old raisins and peanuts, which is which is so random. Isn't it funny where these trend names come from? But it stands, that's like a practical snack that people have when they're hiking and bouldering.
I
So
can't believe
good old raisins and peanuts, gorpcore. So I think we're just seeing that trickle into high fashion. And it goes sort of back to this, maybe that commercial pinch and also how people are spending. Because I can see these being at a lower price point. So just like a card holder, AirPod holder is an easier low-hanging fruit entry point into a luxury brand. So it's easier for consumers to buy. So the takeaway from that is maybe instead of looking at a big bag purchase at the end of the year when your bonus comes in, and I think maybe that's why we're seeing these utility accessories. Is it becoming a bagless society? I know wallet purchases have gone down, so maybe it's a commercial
I think
reason.
it is a similar thing how we've kind of phased out large wallets. Everyone's either got like a card holder or like a very small purse that you can kind of fit maybe a couple of cards in. People aren't really carrying coins or kind of larger items anymore, and I feel like it's the same sort of shift towards less.
Yeah.
So
what was your fourth one then? Or our fourth, your third?
yeah. Okay. So this is an interesting one. Peplum was really prevalent on the runways. Really kind of styled in a monochromatic look. I found across a few shows, Adam Lippers, Ashlyn, Kate all had these monochromatic in different colors with like white, navy, red, but Peplum with some sort of like a trouser or a skirt in the same tone. And I have a bit of a love-hate with Peplum. I don't know if you have the same thing, but it really reminds me of the 2010s when we had that kind of corporate girly era where everyone was wearing that like very structured Peplum top with like a pencil skirt.
To the
club. Bib necklaces to the club. Giant heels with like the huge platform. It just like completely takes me back to that time. So whenever I see Peplum, I'm sort of like, oh,
same.
But I will say though, there were some really beautiful looks on the runway, and I think sometimes a softer Peplum with a bit of like a looser flowing pant or something like that, really, really beautiful. And I do think Peplum is something that feels quite versatile. So if you were to buy like a Peplum top, it could be styled for a lot of different occasions, potentially styled up with some sort of a skirt and heels for a fancier occasion, or dressed down with some jeans and flat. So I do think it's a very versatile piece for the wardrobe. But I'm still not sure how I feel about it.
I did gawk at it initially, but then when I was seeing how it was styled, Colleen Estrada in New York, her show had a lot of Peplum tops. She had a beautiful show actually. It was, not many don't have a stunning backdrop location as much anymore because they're obviously such big investments, but hers was done at a helipad downtown Manhattan. The sun was setting and just these beautiful models walking down in Peplum. But I thought what was different is how she styled them. Back in the day, you'd wear your Peplum, like you said, with like a tight pencil skirt or tight bottom. Which is sort of how we're taught with fashion. You balance the silhouette, right? But she was doing Peplum top with the baggy trousers and it looked cool. So I think this time round, wearing Peplum, which I think I'll do, I actually bought a Peplum top the other day from Harris Tapper. Anyways, so yeah, and I was wondering how to style it. I was getting freaked out thinking of the 2010s, but having the Peplum top, so the bigger top with the bigger bottom. So it goes against what the general rule is, but it looks just really cool, comfortable.
Yeah,
and
I think it's having a resurgence.
Yeah, and we're not dressing for that male gaze anymore.
So true.
I think it's just about feeling comfortable and how you want to dress. Like it's a cool girl way of dressing, whereas I think we had to sort of balance out if you're looser on top, tighter pants to show off some figure. It's like we're not about that anymore, which I really like in fashion.
Yeah, I love that. It feels very effortless. And I will say something I think maybe that is a bit off-putting. No offense if everyone still, if you love that style, not to knock it, but I do think the structure of it, the fact that your top is really structured, a structured bottom, I feel like something about that feels a little bit imbalanced to me.
Totally. So my next trend that we saw a lot of, and I know it's sort of a broad term, but it's belts. Belts, belts, belts. And the good thing with this, it could be, it was quite versatile. So it was either stacked belts, which I really liked, like double stack, triple stack.
I love that.
And we're seeing this everywhere, aren't we? The thing I love about this, it's such a low-hanging fruit trend that anyone can jump on, and no matter what your silhouette is or your figure, you can make a belt work.
Yeah.
And just the variations of them. I was in an op shop the other day and there's just so many of those 90s thick belts.
Yeah.
So just a nice entryway into this trend.
I also feel like I've just been waiting for that 90s trend of like low-rise pants with the belt to really come back. Like I love that. I remember, I don't know, being younger and wearing like belts, even with like tassels and fringe on the side with like low-rise pants. I love that look so much. So I'm like so happy that they're back. And you're right. It's something that like walk into any like secondhand shop, even on like Depop, any like vintage store, belts are everywhere. So easy to find. Yeah. And yeah, just like a fun way to really like spice up an outfit.
I'm going to try the like double belt, triple belt stack. I think that's really cool over a jacket, an oversized blazer. Like that's a bit high fashion-esque. I'm going to give that a go.
So my last trend, which I have to say I'm ecstatic about, is distressed denim is back, which is crazy. So it feels very 2010s to me, but I've just been waiting for this to come back ever since it's gone out of fashion, to be honest. I still have all of my distressed and ripped jeans in the back of my cupboard, which I'm definitely going to pull out.
What brand are they?
I remember I have a pair of Levi's that have like a lot of distressing down the front. I also used to just distress my own jeans where like I would kind of make incisions and then fray the edges.
That's really cool.
The thing about it is that you always have to cop at some event, like an uncle or an aunt will come, like something's happened to your pants. Like, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Oh, One Teaspoon, that was always a big brand for the distress, wasn't it?
Yeah. Love distressing. Like Brandon Maxwell, Simkai, Ariel all had a lot of like distressed finishes, kind of exposed seams, and like ripped knees, which I love it so much. I also feel like we have been living in this kind of quite like clean girl aesthetic where simple, like even like a straight leg pant has been in for a really long time, and now that we are kind of reverting back to this more like maximalist style, I do feel like we are going to see a resurgence of these trends that kind of have fallen off for a bit.
Yeah, and I should say not just distressed denim, but did you notice there was just a whole lot of denim?
Yeah,
which is really nice to see for spring, summer. Calvin Klein collection just had a classic denim jacket with matching jeans, but I think that was just a nod to Calvin Klein and the history of Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
That's almost part of their brand DNA. My next one, didn't quite know what to call this, but I really want to just focus on the hips. So a lot of the hips were hipping, a lot of exposed hips or just emphasizing the hips, so cinching in the waist. Going to speak specifically to Kate, which is like the New York sweetheart brand at the moment. Everyone's obsessed with Kate. I feel like it was the Row. Now it's Kate.
Yeah.
Some people call it Chiate, but it's Kate. I feel like and Ralph Lauren. It's Ralph Lauren. I say Ralph Lauren. I feel like Australians like to sort of add a fancy bit to it, but he's not French. Okay. Ralph Lauren.
It's Ralph Lauren.
So Kate Holstein is the designer. She did some really beautiful pieces. Low-rise skirts, like midi skirts that were sitting on the hips. So these beautiful polka dot skirts with exposed hips.
So stunning.
But then those really structured tops that cinched in at the waist, then like emphasizing the hips. And I thought that's really interesting and a nice thing to just consider. So it's not a practical, tangible trend. It's more something going, right, we can kind of, depending what your physique is, if you feel comfortable sort of wearing low-rise. We know low-rise is everywhere. Jeans, the midi skirts, it's low-rise is a trend for spring, summer. So if you feel comfortable exposing, do you wear low-rise, Chels?
I do now. It's actually quite interesting that you say that. I think when low-rise first came back, there was quite a lot of pushback in general. I mean, me included. I think it does feel quite daunting.
It does.
But I actually think it's very flattering for almost all body types.
Yeah. Unexpectedly, I agree.
Unexpectedly.
Give it a go.
And I think as someone who comfort is really like above all for me.
Yeah.
And someone who has like IBS and a very sensitive stomach, I actually think that low-rise jeans are the way. It's actually
Totally.
so much more comfortable than wearing high-rise. And I think depending on how you style it, it can actually be so flattering.
Yeah,
I
I
love
agree.
it. I love that trend.
So that's
Great.
8 trends and hopefully takeaways that people can, I guess, take away from the big major fashion weeks. Well, I guess we've still got a little bit of Milan
To
and
go.
Paris. So there's so much. It is a mammoth month. A bit of a shout out as well with Paris Fashion Week. We've got Age and Zimmerman showing, which is so exciting to
I
have
love
some
that so
Aussie
much.
presence
Yeah,
over there. It's
yeah.
so cool.
So true.
I should actually mention as well. Bit of a shout out to New Zealand. I've just got it.
Aw.
They actually, I know we talk about September being a big month with the 4, but the New Zealand Fashion Week was at the beginning of September, which is so cool. And they actually didn't show in 2024 because it wasn't financially viable.
Right.
So they were back for 2025. It was amazing. I spoke with Natalie Zanita, who was the director of IMG Australian Fashion Week, and she's moved over to be on the board of New Zealand Fashion Week. She's actually my old boss.
Oh, wow.
But she was saying their main priority is with this New Zealand Fashion Week, is just to build that confidence and reassurance in everyone that not just with wholesalers, designers, but the fashion community at large, that New Zealand's got amazing designers and talent. So now we've done our trends, should we move into bougie and budget?
Yes, let's do it.
So Chels, what's your bougie?
Okay, so my bougie is the Simone Rocha draped taffeta peplum top.
Divine.
It's over $1,000. But it's so beautiful. It's this black, the draping on it is beautiful. It's a really subtle kind of peplum, which I think would be really easy to style and just so gorgeous. So chef's kiss.
Are you going to get that one?
I probably will.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
I
so
probably will.
cool. I love that. I don't think I've ever spent that on a top.
I would love to get into peplum, and I feel like that's my way in. Yeah,
Wow.
Simone Rocha's the one.
Wow, that is amazing. My bougie isn't quite that expensive, although it sort of is. Cebu. Have you ever shopped from Cebu?
I haven't. I know the brand, but I haven't bought anything
They
from
are
them.
slightly overpriced for what they are, if I dare say Cebu. I don't know if they're an advertiser here.
Sorry.
But Cebu, it's a drop waist midi dress. I've actually got this dress in red. And I love that low waist. It's sort of, again, it's that emphasis on the hips in a way.
Yeah.
It's nice. Got it in red. Love the classic red trend coming into spring, summer. But there's also black and white. And knowing that's so prevalent, I wouldn't mind. I wear this dress all the time. I wouldn't mind getting the black or white.
Yeah, I feel like if a dress works, you need it in multiple colors, 100%.
Dresses, bikinis. I think anything that works for you, buy it. Jeans.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Love.
What color should I get? Black or white?
I would go with white. I do own a lot of black, but I do feel like, something about white just really pops.
Yeah. Nice one. All right. What's your budget?
Okay, this is actually kind of all over social media. I don't think it's necessarily a secret, but the Verge Girl sequin midi skirt.
Yeah.
I own it. I love it. I love
I think
to
Lee
style
owns it as well. Right?
Yes, Lee does own it.
I've got the top version.
Yes, I love it. I saw Lee wear it in the elevator here. And I was like, where is that from? Verge Girl. And then I bought myself one because it's stunning. And just so easy to style. So I'll usually just pop like an oversized kind of like white t-shirt over it.
That's cool.
Maybe a blazer. So easy to wear.
And that goes back to your first trend with those like tactile,
Yes,
tangible.
exactly.
All right. My budget is so talking about the pendant necklaces, albeit this one isn't a utility style one. It's just a nice pendant necklace. It's from COS. $79, which I thought was pretty okay.
Reasonable.
Yeah, for COS. And just a nice summer. I can see you throughout spring, summer. Those style of necklaces where it's on like that black cord are everywhere.
Yeah,
this
I
is
have a
just a
few.
really nice one for summer. So
I love
$79.
I also feel like it's just such an easy thing to throw on, but immediately the outfit is like taking a step up.
Totally.
which I
And you
love.
can look at that girl and go, she knows.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. That's all we have time for today.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to be the first to hear about our fashion takes.
Bye.